All right. All right. How are we doing? We're going to jump right in this. Let me just put a little music on. I'm sorry, folks. I didn't get my flow going for some reason. That was my fault. Let's hit this going here. Good morning. My name is Samuel Davis III, and I am the co founder and CEO of Bridge Visions. And I'm here to start my first live broadcast, sending out and just going out to you. I've got a lot of things I want to talk about and discuss, have a lot of things on my mind, and hopefully that we can connect and get together and come to an understanding about a lot of subjects and various items of interest that are weighing heavily on my mind, as well as discovering other people, talking with individuals, and just talking things through. Um, I want to start off by just taking a brief moment of silence. I want to center myself. It's called grounding. Just want to get myself grounded. This is a new venture for me to come in here and do this. I've been waiting to do this for years. I've been saying I'm going to do it. I've been helping others produce their podcasts and things, and it's my time. It's my time. So bear with me for a moment. Just take a moment, a brief moment of silence. Just take a deep breath as we center ourselves for whatever it is that may come through this atmosphere, whatever comes free from the universe, free flowing through our minds. And give me just a moment. Okay. All right. Here we go. As I said, my name is Samuel Davis III, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Bridge Visions. Bridge Visions has been my business for a few years. I kind of got into this, started it by started getting into real estate and drones and video production, and that was something that was really, really heavy on my at the time in my life to do for as far as a business and career. Previously, and I'll go into more detail as we get to know each other on this platform. I am a military brat, meaning that my father was in the military, and I pretty much traveled around the world as a young dependent of my father. My father was a U.S. Marine, and I myself went into the Air Force, and I am an Air Force veteran. I am also a retired Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Prisons employee, government employee. I have a lot of experience in working in the prison systems as a federal corrections officer. I used to feel embarrassed about that, to be honest with you. There are some benefits to working in a federal prison, um, and even just saying that I was a federal corrections officer. It used to be kind of embarrassing to a point. Wasn't embarrassing getting those paychecks now, believe that. But it was something that when you hear about corrections and prison and things like that, you don't really want to discuss or to talk about it because, quite frankly, lots of times you run into those guys out in the streets. And sometimes, depending on what type of an officer you are, man, you can have some problems. I forgot to get my music on, so excuse me here. I'm going to start this up and see how this goes. Here we go. Sorry, so I'm going to work out some kinks here with you. And hopefully, again, as this grows, the platform grows, you'll see a lot of different things change. Currently, I'm in my wife's destination. I'm not in my office right now. I just decided that I was going to just do this. So let me see. Was it a week ago? Almost 2 weeks. This week will be 2 weeks. I was at Lisan Basquiat's. She had a thing called Soulful Saturdays. Being that we live here in Southern California, North County, San Diego, California to be exact, um, we don't really get a chance to connect with a lot of individuals that are like-minded or even similar in hue, if you understand what I'm saying. She had started this program through her organization called Hera Hub, and it's been going for a little while, just to get to know other business professionals in the community and people of color, to talk and meet up. And what was interesting, Lisan was doing leading the group through an exercise, and she said, I want you to think, just take a moment and breathe and think of your word for the year. And that word, my interpretation of it was, when I hear your word of the year, something that keeps you going whenever you get down, some words to come to mind that will inspire you and keep you going on when you do feel like you're at your wit's end. And I sat there and I closed my eyes, and people were getting up and speaking, and I was like, man, what is my word? And all I could think about was Nike. Isn't a word, it's a name, it's a brand. And just do it. There's a lot of things that stop me from doing things, and that word Nike just kept coming. Just do it, just do it. And here I am, a week and a half later. I sat back and jumped and decided to get into StreamYard. I had worked with this before, with this platform, and I decided that I was going to go ahead and jump into it. StreamYard is a very simple program to use to go online, and it helps me to decide which format I'm going to go to, which platform I like to use, YouTube, Facebook, or just record and do other things. And there's other different things, Twitch as well. So I want to put this on and get this thing going. And like I said, Nike, just do it. And that's what I'm planning on doing. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to wing it and run. And as I mentioned, things are going to change a little bit. Things are going to switch up as far as, again, this is just an office space or my wife's desktop here. I'll get back into the office and do some other things to kind of tighten it up, and bring in some guests. I have some friends that I've known pretty much globally. I got friends all around the world I want to bring in and just talk and get some different ideas and points of view, and just interview some people and just talk about some stuff. A lot of things going on in this world right now, and I am very concerned with a lot of things. That concern doesn't mean I have the answers to it, nor am I necessarily looking for those answers. But what I am trying to do is, I'm trying to do, just as the company name is, I'm trying to bridge visions, help people get to that point where you're stuck or you can't get from here to there. You want to bridge that vision to see what's going on, get other thought processes going on through your mind, to get you start thinking in different ways and thinking about those things that work in your best interests. Let's leave it at that. That work in your best interests. Over the last couple of years, in particular after this pandemic has passed, and now here we are into 2023, a lot of downtime, a lot of time to think, a lot of time to try to discover who I am. And along this way, on this journey, you're going to find out a lot of things about me, more myself, and you may even find some things out about yourself. These bridges that I would like to vision, or excuse me, these visions that I would like to bridge are things that come to mind for me, and they've been very helpful for me along my journey. I've been through quite a lot. I've experienced quite a lot of different things, and working in the prison was a perfect place to get concepts and to understand human nature and the psyche of individuals. This past year, I was diagnosed with cancer. That was a very, very big thing. When you hear cancer is popping up and you say, hey, you got cancer, and you start thinking of, I'm going to die, and what am I going to do, and who am I going to talk to, who am I going to speak to, what can I do to get rid of it, and if I do get rid of this cancer, what am I going to do to prolong my life or live long and prosper after that. Those things crossed my mind. I was very blessed. I actually had surgery and I took some preventative stuff, which we'll go into along this journey that I took. And um, I am now cancer free. Thank God. I'm going to put some other videos because what was happening during my radiation therapy, I just started making I started recording some stuff. So I'll update these. I'll put them on this page as well too, just for some filler stuff, I guess. But at the time when I first started going through the radiation, mine was just running, just spiraling all up and down, all kinds of things, discussing things, thoughts, and a lot of things were coming across my mind. So I decided that again, as I mentioned, I would record myself trying to learn. And even right now, talking about pacing and just conversational things, I'm going to wing it right now. I thought I was going to write a bunch of notes down and say all kinds of clever things, but nah, I'm just going to freestyle it and just wing it for right now. I am married. I have 3 daughters that I'm very proud of. And I live in the city of Oceanside, California. Oceanside is where I graduated high school at, Oceanside High School. And when I left Oceanside, or because I graduated high school here, I consider this home. Previously, I've lived in Iwakuni, Japan. I was born in Washington, D.C., lived here in California, moved to Japan, came back to California, graduated high school, went into the Air Force, Mississippi, Texas, the United Kingdom, Tokyo, Japan. I've been around, and I've got enough worldly experience that affected me and shaped who I am, and learned a lot. And sometimes you sit back and you wonder, you say to yourself, nobody's ever told me that. No one's ever said this to me. And this is an opportunity for me to shine a light and maybe find some other individuals who may think like me, like-minded, and process thoughts and everything else. And I can admit this freely. I'm a black nerd. I'm a nerd. I like messing with nerd stuff and computers and gadgets and things like that. And it's always been something that has always intrigued me, is how things work. And recording. I've been making recordings and started video recordings back in 1982, 83. I like to digitize some videos one day. I had the big 15-pound batteries and a VCR in a backpack with a big cable hanging to that, and throwing this over my back and walking around filming. And oh man, I was it's a piece of work in those early days. Now, what do we have? iPhones and websites and Instagram and all these different things. And you know what? I decided I'd jump in and throw my hand in the game. And hopefully, as I said, shine this light bright enough so I can meet some other individuals along the way who are interested or could contribute to some of the conversations and thoughts that I have. I'm sitting here right now, and this picture right now is just sticking out. This is a picture from my wife's. It was a cousin of my wife, and she actually drew that while she was system impacted, as they say. System impact. There are a lot of terms that I hear. Some people say locked up, gone to jail. Now the newer term is system impacted. Individuals that the system has impacted, and now they are locked up. And I think that's kind of a smoother way to sit back and say someone was locked up. So this picture, she put a lot of work into it. And as I mentioned to you before, working in a prison, you see a lot of great artwork, some amazing artworks, amazing artists and creatives as well. I never saw myself as a creative. Never did. I thought that when I first heard of creatives, I met my wife, And she said she's a creative. She, oh, you're a creative too. And I was like, what is a creative? What, they do drugs? What is a creative? I didn't understand what a creative was. Being that she is an artist, choreographer, um, screenwriter, uh, television host. She's done quite a few things that are just absolutely amazing. And she's a creative. I would have never considered myself a creative until I started seeing how I was dealing with individuals. And I did not know the name of it was called a creative. Most of the time, I was just that weird dude, always messing with stuff and trying to figure out how to record this or how to do certain things. And yeah, I'm a nerd. I'm a black nerd, and I love it. Big thing for me, very big thing for me. Currently in the state of the Union of the United States of America, racism is a very big thing. That's pretty much what this country was founded off of, and it's been a big thing for me, being that on one side I was on one side of the law, and now that I'm retired, I'm on the other side, and I see things differently from when I was a part of the system. I was a part of the system for a long time. Um, I'll say when I left in the military, I can go back before then. The system was mom and dad was telling you what to do. You got to do this, you got to do that. I may rebel against it. I may not cut the grass or whatever, but that was the system for me. As I left and went into the military, that was the next system became involved with. Learned quite a few things from that, experienced a lot of things, and I was really, really excited about meeting other people and getting away out the house for the first time. Oh my goodness. Let me tell you. I went to air traffic controller school in Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi in 1986. It's when the space shuttle actually crashed. And I was in ATC school, and I remember after you get out of boot camp, you go to where you have your training for your job. And as I said, I was in Keesler, Mississippi, and it was the first time I was able to get out and be out on my own and hang out. Boy, was it something else. Mississippi is something else. A lot of experiences there, and I'll go in detail with that another time. But that was one of the second systems that I was involved with. Becoming a federal officer for the DOJ, that was another system. And each time I noticed more and more how I handled myself and how I handled individuals within the system. It can be something. It can be daunting. It can affect you in certain ways. There's some people, when I say daunting and affecting you in certain ways, there are sometimes people who get ranks in the military, and that rank speaks for them. All they know is, hey, I'm staff sergeant, or I'm sergeant, or I'm chief master sergeant, such and such. See the sleeves of my arm, and that tells you who I am. And they base their whole life off of that. Once that life is over, once that career is over, there's a new life. It's you gotta get a new career. Most of the time, you're pretty young, and you're young enough to get in where you can get out of the military and then start another career. And a lot of people have problems with that. I've ran into plenty of friends that I served with that did very well after getting out of the military. They had an alternate plan, and they had plans, and others that didn't. It was pretty hurtful running into a particular friend of mine that I looked up to, outranked me and everything like that. And he was just a really good guy. And I ran into him a couple years ago, and he wasn't doing good. And I tried to help him out. It was interesting because he hadn't even had an email address. So we were talking about military and benefits and things like that. And I was talking with him, and I was like, yeah, you just get an email. You can send an email to such as email. I don't have an email address. I'm like, bro, you don't have an email address? So you start walking through the process and got him an email address, got him hooked up to the VAs, got going. You just like to say, You teach someone how to fish, and then they won't be hungry. I don't. I think that people need that sometimes. They don't know where to go to get that type of help, and sometimes man pride takes a lot of that away from a lot of people. Um, Kind of got off a little bit on that too much for the time, but that was an impact. That was a system that impacted my life. I did help that friend out before I close that out. I did help that friend out. Helped him to try to get himself going, and then it got to the point where I started seeing that he was becoming more dependent upon me completing these things, and I had to just separate myself. Sometimes that's what life is about. Sometimes you're finding out those people that you know, sometimes love, sometimes trust. You got to help them out, and if they can't help themselves, I'm not the person to come at you and go out of my way other than to sit back and teach you how to fish. And if you can't fish on your own, then I have to move on, and maybe that's someone else that might be able to handle that aspect for you. But I went out as best as I could for him, and yeah, it's been a while since I spoke to him. But anyway, on a lighter, brighter note, Bridge Visions has been an idea of mine for many years. Again, we were into video production. We were into my wife and I. She is the president of Bridge Visions, and we did a lot of different things, helping out a lot of different people get their businesses going. This podcast, or the start of this, is our time, my time. I've had a lot of things in my head. When you watch TV or you hear people talk and you see things and you say, man, I got an opinion about that, but I don't know where to go with it and who would it impact. Lots of times I get a lot of people who ask me a lot of information or ask questions, and I feel like we're here to help. I know that's what we're here to do. And again, as I mentioned, working in the prisons was a perfect opportunity. You first get a job, say, hey, I want to be the correctional officer. Okay, you get that job, and then you get in, and then you got your first fight, or you got your first argument where someone curses you out for no reason at all. Or you get that thing where you hit that wall where you go in and you're positive about everything, and then next thing you know, you get some mud slung at you. How you handle that is a big thing. I was humbled quite often working in the prison system, but I also overcame a lot, and I also grew a lot, and I also met some very good people. And I'm not talking about staff. I'm talking about inmates. I'm talking about, it wasn't a guy that was sucking up the inmates, but you actually learn. There was a period of time where I left as corrections, and I actually worked in the food service department in the prison for about two and a half years. Down there, starting off as a correctional officer, working with inmates is one thing. Then when I transferred and worked down to the food service department, that area there, you have to learn to work with the inmates. There are some men or women, that have no schooling at all. You had to learn to work with them. You had to learn to teach a person who had no education, who didn't speak English, and you had to learn to cross that divide by communicating, putting other people with them, visually showing, taking your time and going on your way to show those individuals and how to operate and to get the job done. I enjoyed it. Sometimes it got to be pretty frustrating, but I learned about the human nature in people. There are some good people who are inherently good. There are some that are broken. Sometimes you got to learn to determine that, and I had to learn how to get that real quick judgment on, can I turn my back to this guy, or do I kind of slowly back away from this person because it's not necessarily stable? So I had a lot of things to learn on that. And on the other side, outside of that, I retired from the Bureau and started this business. And when you start working for yourself, that's a whole other journey. This has been a big journey for me these last couple of years with Bridge Visions. We had opened up a video production studio in Escondido, went very well. My business partner and I, after about a year or two, just before the pandemic hit, we had some creative differences in things, and I stepped to the side. We took a break, my wife and I, and George Floyd happened. George Floyd, I'm sure everyone has heard the name, and I don't even need to go into detail on George Floyd. That was right during the time of the pandemic when everyone was forced to sit at home, watch television, see what was going on in the country, and that event happened. During that time, my wife and I were deciding, trying to figure out what we were going to do. What could we do? How could we help? And it came that she decided she was going to run for a public office. We had a district, we live in District 3 in the city of Oceanside, and she decided, you know what? Maybe I'll run for a district office position that they have right now. And at that point, that really changed the game for us as Bridge Visions. As Bridge Visions, our main concern was going out and touching the community and doing what we could do from our perspectives and our ideas and thoughts and what we can do in the community. And she did not win the position that she was looking for, but we met so many people and we still have great contacts, and she's even considering running again. And if so, that means we have to get back into that grind again. It's not a bad thing, but I will say this much. When you go into a public office position, you have to open yourself to a lot of public scrutiny. You have to reveal your home address, incomes, and things like that. And being that I am a former law enforcement, that gets my mind to thinking, who's going to know where I live at? And then you see a car is parked out in front of your house and things start happening. You got to pay your attention. It was a joke between my wife and I. Her name is Kelly. My wife Kelly and I, when she ran for office, I joked and I said, okay, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be Whitney Houston, and I'm going to be Kevin Costner, and I'm going to become the bodyguard again. I'm going to get myself back into shape, carry my weapon with me. Nobody's got to know what's going on. I got my CC, my concealed weapon. I can do all of that, so I just had to get myself in shape and tighten things up and be there and be that presence so that she can do what she needs to do, and then I can support her. And that's been great. And it's been an awesome thing. I'm going to just turn this music down just a bit. I think it might be a little loud. Okay. Yeah. So there's that. Running for office. The other thing that I worked on one day, I was with we also met, we met an individual who has a nonprofit that actually Kelly and I both chaired on. And one day I was talking to the founder of the organization. Oscarine Ortega is his name, for lived experiences. We were having conversation, and he was telling how he was going to go visit his brother, and he only had 2 hours to visit him, and he went all the way to Indiana to go visit him. So I'm sitting back, 2-hour visits, Indiana. So I said, hey, is your brother locked up? Excuse me, system impacted? And he said, yeah, how did you know that? And because we usually have 2-hour special visits for individuals out of state to come visit. So kind of put 2 and 2 together, and he said, Indiana. And I'm trying to think, this guy's from Oaxaca, Mexico. What is he doing in Terre Haute, Indiana? So putting 2 and 2 together, we were just having a conversation, and he was saying, man, you working in a prison system? And we started talking about it. I had a mask on while we were talking, and as we were talking, and I was telling him some of the things that I did, started hyperventilating. I had to rip my mask off, and he said, "You okay? You okay?" And I ran out the place because I couldn't breathe. I said, "I'm okay." And I went out the house and went to the car, and I sat in the car, and I just started crying because I couldn't believe that what was going on with me. And I was like, I knew all the symptoms, and I'm like, I'm having an anxiety attack. And at that point, that's when a big part of my journey for mental health began. A very big part of my journey. So those are some of the things that I've mentioned already that I'm going to go into detail, but mental health is a very, very big thing for me because I never put that into perspective as far as the seriousness of mental health and its effect on each and every one of us. What I come to find out, I've heard about PTSD, but what I did not know about was CPTSD, which is complex PTSD. Complex is chronic. It just goes on and on and on. And my best example of PTSD or CPTSD is an individual who lives in a large city. Let's just say Chicago, New York, LA. A young child goes to school every day, walks to school every day, and sees someone get shot or beat up or hurt or car accident. And it continues to you see someone in the situation and that they can't get that out of their mind. And the next day they see another fight, and the next day they see another fight, and they've not spoken with anybody about it. They haven't talked about it, but you start internalizing a lot of this stuff, and it starts weighing on a person. And if they don't get that outlet to it, it just builds up and just builds up into the point where it just affects them overall. Walking past that same street corner where someone got shot at that you witness, and the blood might still be on the concrete, and you pass it every day. Or if the blood is dried up, then just the thought of passing that corner and the mindset of the person who saw it and isn't able to properly process it, it can have a terrible effect on their psyche. I'll say this: racism, CPTSD, straight up all the way. That's something that when you go in and there's those little subtle things like not being able to get loans and what do you call it, redlining, and those when you walk into a room, people turn around and look at you, and or they make comments and little slick racial comments. Those are the things that you have to deal with. Now, me personally, I'm 6'3", 270, working on that, but 270. And you get people who sit back there and say things that they don't think that it's racial. Oh, you're not like them. Or, I didn't expect you to. They say little things, and it can really stick to you. That's a big part of a lot of the issues that I have with America, because we first and foremost have not admitted to the first sin. What is the first sin that they say? To me, I think slavery was the first sin that America committed and has not even sat back and talked about. We can talk about the atonement of that through reparations, but if there were reparations to be given, it's not just about getting cash and saying, hey, you owe us 40 acres and a mule. My people, my black Americans, we need mental health work. There is such a, for over 400 years of just degradation and just being abused and just being systematically controlled. We don't even realize it. Sometimes we don't even see it. And I can go on that and get started on a rant on that, but I'm not going to. This is just some of the things that are pretty big on my mind. I have some good friends that I have come to know over the years, more recently, that I've learned to do things to help relieve those stress of those CPTSD symptoms. I've actually got a good friend. He's a yogi, and I'm sure you're going to meet him. We started doing yoga, kayaking, hiking, things that I know I usually would not do, but along this journey of self-discovery and healing, I found those things to be very healing. very relaxing, very comfortable. And as I mentioned earlier, with this cancer diagnosis, this is a whole different thing. I'm still healing from the surgery, and starting to move around and get a little bit more active in bettering myself, and that's all part of it. So we're in about 35 minutes, I guess, here, and I just wanted to say, Nike, just do it. I want to jump out here, just get started doing this. I'm going to try to do this maybe once a week. I'm going to try to get individuals in that I know. I'm going to try to talk about various different subjects, my level of spirituality, what my spiritual system is, and how it works for me. And maybe I can find others who feel the same way. Maybe we can discuss things or techniques. There are things that I listen to various authors and readings, and just things that make me feel good, that help me get through my day and make my day a whole lot better. And I really look forward to growing this platform, getting a little bit more interaction in here, getting a little bit more clarity, and setting this thing up. And setting this is just a start. So got to start somewhere. And I told myself I was going to go live, and I'm going to do it, and I did. Didn't jump live on my Facebook though. As a matter of fact, I might just post this on my Facebook. Who knows? We'll see. This is Samuel Davis III, co-founder and CEO of Bridge Visions, and I'm out.